Esports has been around for many years now, with some esports competitions dating all the way back to the days of Pong, with the first tournament being held on the 19th of October 1972. Much like other competitive sports such as soccer, volleyball, and AFL, esports is built on the foundations of the idea that to bring your team to the top and make your name known, you must be the best at everything you do. Many professional esports players have been able to make their mark on the competitive scene very well known, such as the likes of Faker, a 4-time League of Legends Worlds champion, TenZ, a 2-time Valorant major winner, and Simple, the largely undisputed GOAT of competitive CSGO. The road to the top of the esports world is lonely and many sacrifices must be made. However, the questions of how much is too much of a sacrifice and is this even worth the struggle are often asked when it comes to both esports players' mental health and physical health. So what is the answer? How much is too much, and is any of it actually worth it? Now, a lot of people may call esports a fake sport, as unlike other sports competitions where you are physically present and competing, esports usually follows the stereotype of just sitting down for long periods of time and playing games. The types of injury that are commonly associated with actual sports, such as a broken leg, a ruptured Achilles, or even just a rolled ankle, aren't usually associated with esports competitions and players. But despite the stereotype, evidence has shown that both mental and physical injuries take precedent within esports players and competitions. In 2013, former StarCraft 2 professional player Jeff "In Control" Robinson was hospitalized due to blood clots in his knees and legs, resulting in deep vein thrombosis. Now, for context, Jeff Robinson before this initial incident was mainly seen as a very healthy and physically active person, being known for going to the gym for 3 hours a day and actively participating in weightlifting tournaments. However, despite all of this, he was still hospitalized numerous times due to deep vein thrombosis. Now, deep vein thrombosis is a condition in which blood clots will form when blood flow within your veins has been slowed down and becomes a lot more likely to occur if you are commonly sitting down for extended periods of time without moving. Jeff, as an esports player as well as a Twitch streamer, will commonly be in an environment where he is spending majority of his time sitting down and practicing for extended periods, despite the amount of time that he would have spent taking care of himself and being physically active. Jeff would continue to be hospitalized due to blood clot related issues in the following years, and in 2019 he sadly passed away due to pulmonary embolism, a direct cause from deep vein thrombosis. Jeff's situation, albeit tragic, is also interesting. Despite taking care of his body, potentially a lot better than many professional esports players, he still found himself succumbing to a medical issue that had plagued him for many years of his life, showcasing a clear link between the physical toll that practicing and competing can have on a person and how it can dangerously affect one's health. Jeff's case is also not the only one where continuous hours of practicing and playing tournaments have had direct correlation between physically affecting one's own health. And while I think using Jeff's case as a powerful example of what can happen, it is also important to look at what many other esports players are also going through. In an article released by BMJ, a weekly peer-reviewed medical journal owned by the British Medical Association, the article released had information regarding the health of up-and-coming esports athletes that were playing at the collegiate level. A survey had been sent out to 65 different collegiate esports players from over 9 universities across the USA and Canada to gather information on certain gaming and lifestyle habits, as well as any physical complaints they may have had due to competitions. The results of the survey had found that these collegiate players would be practicing from 3 to 10 hours per day, with 56% of those surveyed complaining about eye fatigue, followed by about 42% complaining about neck and back pain. 40% of these participants did not participate in any form of physical activity, and only 2% had actively sought medical attention. The main conclusion that they had drawn from the survey was that esports players are susceptible to overuse injuries, just like many traditional athletes. A similar article written by the NIH, the USA's medical research agency, also delves into the correlation between physical stresses that affect an esports player's body. In a qualitative study that had been conducted on practice designs in League of Legends players, had found that culture of grinding and overtraining placed not only a physical toll on the players, but an emotional one as well. It references the nature of professional gaming, which involves prolonged sitting and repetitive movements that directly links to musculoskeletal problems, including chronic lower back pain. Another article released by the International Journal of Esports touches up more on the toll that esports can have on a player's physical health. Within the article, it states that physical inactivity is a major concern as it can contribute to or amplify many negative health outcomes observed within the esports community, such as being higher risk for developing metabolic disorders from having less lean body mass, higher body fat, and lower bone mineral content compared to non-esports players. Additionally, it had been observed that the heart rate changes before, during, and after an esports competition of a collegiate level team, and results had shown that the mean heart rate had increased significantly during esports activity. This article also touches lightly on how esports players may be using performance-enhancing drugs such as Adderall to increase cognitive function and perform better during tournaments, as well as using anxiolytic medications and beta blockers to remain calm during stressful competitions. These articles alone provide much needed information on how esports players, if not taking care of themselves in the right ways, can begin to start to see negative health effects starting to take a toll on them. Although there is evidence to suggest that esports events and hours spent practicing only negatively impact a player's health, most of these issues can be avoided with simple solutions. Regular physical activity and exercise have been linked to being able to address the negative health outcomes, as well as improving player performance, with De La Heras discovering that a short bout of high-intensity cardiovascular exercise prior to playing the game League of Legends improved the player performance by 17%. Another study had shown that regular exercise also helps with the cognitive aspects of esports performance like attention, task switching, information processing, and memory ability. Whether or not esports players are practicing for 3 hours a day or 10 hours a day, their own physical condition is based on whether or not they actively want to take care of themselves, with many of these negative side effects practically disappearing as long as esports players were to partake in regular amounts of exercise, either in between practices or in between games. However, the reason for why esports players will practice for unhealthy amounts of time may be correlated between the mental side of esports competition and practice, and how mental health is also a big, if not larger, risk factor of esports players striving to make it to the top. Continuing from the physical aspect of esports and how it affects players in multiple different ways, the mental aspect of esports has a much larger impact on athletes, with both mental stress induced by the media as well as mental stress due to organizations mistreating their own players. Social media in recent years has continued to have a large role within the world of esports, with platforms such as Instagram, Reddit, and formerly Twitter, now X, providing an in-depth connection between people and esports players and tournaments. Social media comes with benefits that can improve a player's well-being. It is used for social interaction, whether it be in the form of interacting with fans or maybe even members of another competing team. This reduces a sense of isolation in some certain individuals' basic need for connectedness and belonging. It also allows players an environment where they can voice their own frustrations and be met with support by fans that support a particular esports athlete. However, following the benefits of social media, there are also some aspects of social media and esports that can greatly become a detriment to one's own mental health. One of the main reasons almost has nothing to do with other people online and mainly targets that social media can cause players to stay up much later than they may normally would, resulting in poor sleep and a poorer performance on stage. It also encourages the behavior of socially comparing yourself to others, which can be seen as a very negative connotation based on what is being compared. For example, if someone had a really good performance and you were to compare yourself to them by saying, "I'm not good enough if I can't do what they can do," this is a form of overly exaggerating differences between yourself and another competitor, which may end up being detrimental to one's own mental health. It is also important to note that just as you can vent your frustrations on social media and be met with support, it is also likely that you may be met with criticism and scrutiny, making social media also a major stress factor for those with potential greater online presence, causing more mental distress on the player. Many esports players may be met with harsh criticism on social media, as well as their own harsh self-comparisons onto other players, further pushing the agenda that they must keep on practicing and grinding out the game as much as possible so that they can prove everyone else wrong, sacrificing their own physical health with it. Again, comparing yourself to others will only lead to negative emotions and behaviors, as constantly comparing yourself will lead to feelings of inadequacy, jealousy, and low self-esteem, as well as questioning your own abilities, thinking that you aren't good enough, which is something that will not only make you play a lot worse, but because you play worse, you begin to spiral a lot easier. A common theme with being doubted as a competitor is that you do everything in your power to try and prove people wrong. However, in the world of esports, where you don't have anyone actively making sure that you aren't practicing too much, as well as making sure that you are exercising the right amount, trying to prove people wrong may end up being much more unhealthy for an esports athlete than the positive of achieving their goals. With these multiple different factors coming into play for an esports competitor's mental and physical health, what really is the answer of how far someone can push themselves to be the best? I think that although esports is still quite young and has been met with many controversies, the study of the sport has shown many areas of improvement that organizations should be looking at and have already started to take into account. For example, the NRG Valorant team has a professional chef that cooks meals for them to make sure that they are staying healthy. Many teams have picked up a psychologist to make sure that players are in the right headspace, or even let players enjoy their time off rather than spend all their time practicing and staying indoors. I think that although the consequences of not looking after your physical health and mental health due to pushing yourself so far in search for greatness and stardom is an incredibly dangerous line to cross, I also believe that through these multiple developments within the esports scene, there will be much less incidents in regards to a player's physical body not being able to keep up with their routine, as well as a player's mental health crashing out on them when they need it the most. Esports has a bright future ahead of it, and I think that as time continues to pass by, things will only get better from here.